Hello, everyone. The 1980s were a magical time for football. It was a decade of shoulder pads, grit, and growing spectacle. The league saw an influx of talent that would redefine the quarterback position forever, transforming it into the game's most critical role. 5 men stood at the heart of this transformation, leaving legacies that continue to inspire. We will dive into their stories, examining their triumphs, challenges, and unique qualities that set them apart as the top 5 quarterbacks of the 1980s. Let's get started. Before we begin, a couple honorable mentions. The first is Phil Simms. Simms was a steady hand behind the New York Giants' rise to prominence in the 1980s. Though he was often overshadowed by flashier contemporaries, Simms' 1986 Super Bowl winning season remains one of the most efficient performances in history. In Super Bowl 21, Simms completed 22 of 25 passes for 268 yards and 3 touchdowns, earning MVP honors. Known for his leadership and reliability, Simms deserves recognition as a pivotal quarterback of the decade. And the other is Warren Moon. Moon initially went to the CFL, where he won 5 consecutive Grey Cup championships. He then came to the NFL in 1984, where his powerful arm and ability to lead the Houston Oilers' high-octane run-and-shoot offense made him one of the league's top quarterbacks by the late 1980s. Moon was also a trailblazer, breaking barriers as the first African-American quarterback inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Though his peak spanned the 90s, his late 80s contributions made a significant mark on the game. Now, let's get on to our top 5. At number 5, we have my homer pick of Boomer Esiason. Esiason's presence in the 1980s brought something unique to the quarterback position, a fearless left-handed gunslinger with a knack for leading underdog teams. The fiery leader of the Cincinnati Bengals, Esiason turned heads with his combination of accuracy and arm strength. Esiason's greatest achievement came in the 1988 season. With the Bengals operating under head coach Sam Wyche's no-huddle offense, Boomer put together an MVP campaign. He threw for 3,572 yards and 28 touchdowns, leading the Bengals to a 12-4 record and a Super Bowl appearance. Though Cincinnati ultimately fell to Montana's 49ers in a nail-biting finish, Esiason's leadership had given the Cincinnati fan base an unfortunately small glimpse into what it was like to be a winning franchise. Boomer's mastery of the no-huddle offense made him a trendsetter. His ability to command a fast-paced, relentless attack showcased his intelligence and adaptability, cementing his place among the top quarterbacks of the 1980s. At number 4, we have Dan Fouts, the man behind the San Diego Chargers' high-octane offense under head coach Don Coryell. Fouts turned football into an aerial art, putting up numbers that seemed otherworldly for his time. Fouts wasn't just a quarterback, he was the conductor of a symphony that electrified fans and terrorized defenses. The Coryell system prioritized vertical passing, and Fouts was his perfect maestro. Between 1980 and 83, he led the league in passing yards for 4 consecutive seasons, cementing his reputation as one of the greatest passers of the era. One of the more memorable games of Fouts' career came in the 1981 AFC Divisional Playoff game against the Miami Dolphins. In a game often referred to as the Epic in Miami, Fouts threw for 433 yards and 3 touchdowns in a marathon that ended with a 41-38 Chargers victory in overtime. It was a showcase of Fouts' brilliance and the sheer excitement of the Coryell offense. Though the Chargers never reached the Super Bowl during Fouts' career, his impact on the game was immense. He laid the groundwork for the pass-heavy offenses that today dominate the NFL. Fouts didn't just play football, he changed the way it was played. At number 3, we have John Elway, who built his legend on resilience. No deficit was too daunting, no challenge was too great for the Denver Broncos quarterback. Elway's career was masterclass in perseverance, defined by his ability to deliver in the clutch. Elway entered the NFL with enormous expectations. He was touted as the ultimate quarterback prospect. His combination of rocket arm and exceptional athleticism made him a dual-threat nightmare for defenses. Elway's defining moment of the 80s came during the 1986 AFC Championship game against the Cleveland Browns. With 5:32 remaining, the Broncos trailed 20-13 and were pinned at their own 2-yard line. What followed was a drive for the ages. Elway marched his team 98 yards, converting crucial third downs and silencing a hostile Cleveland crowd. The Broncos tied the game and won in overtime. This legendary series is simply known as the Drive. Though Elway led the Broncos to 3 Super Bowl appearances in the 80s, victory eluded him each time. Yet his ability to will his team to the biggest stage year after year showcased his greatness. Elway's dual-threat ability, his powerful arm, and skill as a runner foreshadowed the modern quarterback prototype. And while the Super Bowl wins would come in the 90s for Elway, His heroics in the 80s established him as one of the game's most compelling figures. At number 2, we have Dan Marino, who was the embodiment of flash and firepower. Marino didn't just play quarterback, he dominated position with a ferocity that left defenses scrambling and record books rewritten. The Miami Dolphins selected Marino with the 27th overall pick in the legendary 1983 draft. While other teams doubted his potential, the Dolphins had struck gold. By his second season, Marino had redefined what was possible for a quarterback. The 1984 season was Marino's magnum opus. He shattered records with 5,084 passing yards and 48 touchdowns, marks that remained untouched for 2 decades. Marino's quick release, powerful arm, and pinpoint accuracy turned every game into a spectacle. Opposing defenses had no answers, as Marino consistently found receivers downfield with surgical precision. Despite his individual brilliance, Marino's career lacked a Super Bowl win. He reached the big stage in the 84 season, only to fall to Montana's 49ers. It was a cruel irony. Marino, the most prolific passer of his generation, lacked the team's success to match his talent. Still, Marino's impact transcended championships. He modernized the quarterback position, proving that a strong arm and a fearless attitude could elevate an offense. Marino didn't need a ring to solidify his place as one of the greatest quarterbacks, not just of the 1980s, but of all time. And at number 1, we have the obvious pick, Joe Montana. He was not the biggest, strongest, or fastest player on the field, yet he possessed an uncanny ability to rise to the occasion, turning high-pressure situations into defining moments. Nicknamed Joe Cool for his composure, Montana became the face of the San Francisco 49ers and the personification of the West Coast offense under head coach Bill Walsh. Montana's journey began modestly. He was a third-round pick in the 1979 draft, and few expected him to blossom into a superstar. But Montana was more than just a quarterback. He was a leader who thrived in the chaos of the game. The defining moment of Montana's career, and perhaps the 1980s, came the 1981 NFC Championship game against the Dallas Cowboys. With less than a minute left, Montana evaded defenders and offered a pass to Dwight Clark in the end zone, a play simply known as the catch. It wasn't just a touchdown, it was the catalyst for the 49ers' first Super Bowl run. Under Montana, the 49ers claimed 4 Super Bowl titles in the decade, with Montana earning 3 Super Bowl MVP awards. And in 1989, he capped off the decade with his first league MVP. His ability to stay calm under pressure made him a nightmare for defenses and a savior for fans. Montana's legacy wasn't solely built on stats, though he had plenty. It was about the poise, the precision, and the ability to lift his team to greatness time and again. He wasn't just the best quarterback of the 1980s. For many, he remains the best of all time. And these were the top 5 quarterbacks of the 1980s. They weren't just players, they were transformative figures who elevated the sport to new heights. Montana's championships, Marino's records, Elway's heroics, Fauch's innovation, and Esiason's leadership each told a different story, but together they painted a picture of greatness. Their styles were distinct, their paths unique, but their impact was universal. These men didn't just play football, they defined an era and reshaped the quarterback position for generations to come. Their influence can still be felt in today's NFL, where quarterbacks strive to emulate their skill, leadership, and resilience. Now, it's your turn to weigh in. Which quarterback of the 1980s was your favorite? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.